Imagine a future shattered by an unknown cataclysm, where reality is fractured, time can be manipulated, and every enemy you fail to destroy might come back stronger. That's the world of Cronos: The New Dawn, a psychological sci-fi horror game from Bloober Team, the studio behind Silent Hill 2 remake and The Medium. But this isn't just another survival horror experience. With strong Dead Space vibes, absolutely gorgeous visuals, and a unique core mechanic tied to merging enemies, Cronos immediately caught my attention. In this video, we're breaking down everything we know so far, what looks promising, what has me curious, and what I'm still a bit unsure about. Visually, this is where Cronos really grabbed me. The game has a strong Dead Space energy, grim sci-fi corridors, eerie lighting, and that overwhelming feeling that something is just always around the corner. The lighting and volumetric especially stood out to me, whereas the dark alleyway, barely lit by a flickering panel, or beams of light cutting through dust in abandoned buildings. The atmosphere looks dense and oppressive in the best way. The setting pulls from Poland's real-world brutalist architecture, giving it this grounded, believable feel, even as things get weird with time travel and body horror. It's inspired by stuff like Silent Hill, Bloodborne, The Thing, and Netflix show Dark, but doesn't feel like a ripoff. It feels like a unique blend that works for the specific story and tone. You play as Traveler ND-3576, a kind of a sci-fi responder deployed by an organization called the Collective. Your job is to enter the New Dawn Zone, a location warped by time and filled with danger, and rescue individuals trapped across broken timelines. But you're not the first. Other travelers have tried and failed. You come across their logs, their notes, and maybe their remains. There's talk of someone called the Predecessor, a figure tied to the mystery behind the change, the merging phenomena, and the fate of this entire region. What I like here is how the narrative ties back to the core mechanics, the merging, the harvesting of essences, the psychological damage. It's all a part of the world's logic. And thematically, it sounds like it's go deep. Regret, obsession, survival at the cost of humanity. This could be one of those games where the story sticks with you long after you finished it, if Bloober can. Mechanically, this is where Cronos tries to stand out. The merging system is probably the game's most unique feature. Kill an enemy and you just can't move on. You have to burn the body, or risk having other enemies absorb it and evolve. It's a clever twist that could add a lot of tension to counters. There's also the Harvester, a tool you use to collect essences from people across timelines. It's not just a stat buff, these essences seem to carry weight, both narratively and mechanically. The more you collect, the more psychological strain you take on. It's a nice way to tie the gameplay loop back into the horror and story themes. Overall, I think the systems here sounds promising. They're trying to elevate the typical survival horror formula with more layered decisions. It all depends on whether those mechanics feel satisfying in the long run. Combat is where I'm a little more unsure. From the footage we've seen, it looks very slow. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. Games like Resident Evil and Dead Space do that well. But in Cronos, I do wonder if it might get a bit repetitive. Enemy encounters so far haven't shown a lot of variety. I'm hoping that the final game has more dynamic enemy behavior or scenarios to keep things tense. That said, the pacing does seem intentional. Every action has weight, every dodge matters, and the devs clearly want you to think before you act. It could end up being one of those games where the slower combat actually serves the tone and helps build fear. So I'm curious to see how that balance plays out. The reactions online have been a mix of excitement and concern. A lot of players are into the world design, the merging mechanic, and the overall tone, but others have pointed out things like the stiff animations, underwhelming enemy reactions, and slightly awkward voice delivery. My other opinions were that the game looks really good, but I don't like the vibe with how the enemies react to being shot. They're really missing this kind of reactivity from what I've seen. Another opinion is that it looks great, shooting is maybe a bit slow, and the camera is closer than I'd like it to be, but the vibe and the environment are good. And we can clearly see that a lot of people think that the game looks a lot like Dead Space. So where do I stand on Cronos? Honestly, I'm intrigued. The visual style and atmosphere immediately hooked me, and I love the merging system. As a horror concept, it's smart and it fits the setting. But I'm also watching the gameplay closely. If the combat doesn't evolve over time, or if the pacing feels too sluggish, it might wear thin. Still, I'm rooting for it. This is one of the few horror games this year that feels genuinely different. Let me know in the comments, are you interested in this one? Or are you waiting to see how it reviews? And if you want more deep dives like this, hit the like button and subscribe. I will be covering a lot more upcoming games.